Intermittent fasting is making you fatter. I know that sounds backwards. The entire fitness industry has been spent the last decade telling you the opposite. Fast until noon, black coffee only, discipline your way through the hunger. And look, if that's working for you, then genuinely crack on. I'm not your mum. But if you're still watching, or you're intrigued as to why, maybe it's not working. You are grinding through the morning, telling yourself that you're not hungry when you clearly are. Then by 3 p.m., you're face first in the biscuit tin, wondering what went wrong. Now, I've been coaching men for 16 years, and I'm going to tell you exactly why intermittent fasting backfires for a lot of blokes, and the stupidly simple fix that takes 10 minutes to solve this problem. I was going through client check-ins earlier this week, and one of my guys wrote something that stopped me. I feel like when I start my morning with a full breakfast instead of my old coffee and cream and nothing else, I feel better, perform better, and I'm not as hungry throughout the day. Bonus points for not feeling the need to snack all day and overeat at dinner. That's a real bloke with real results, in his own words, talking about a little switch that we've made that's making everything else easier for him. Now, his days used to look like this. Skip breakfast, black coffee with maybe a little bit of creamer from time to time. By 10 a.m., he'd be grazing. Lunch was whatever was nearby. 3 p.m., crash, meant he was more snacking, nuts, candy, chocolate, whatever, then a giant dinner because he was fucking starving. Right? And this is a guy that's typical of people I work with. High stress, kids, not sleeping very well, just a recipe for disaster when it comes to fasting. He genuinely believes he wasn't overeating because he was skipping breakfast and lunch. But when we actually looked at the data, he was eating a lot more than he thought. It just all happened between sort of 3 p.m. and 10 p.m. in a fog of low blood sugar decision-making. Does that sound familiar? Here's the dirty secret of intermittent fasting that nobody really likes to talk about. For a lot of men, fasting just means compressing all of your worst food decisions into a smaller window later in the day when your willpower is already in the bin. You are not making smart choices at 8 p.m. after a day of work stress, kids, and running on fumes. You are making survival choices. And survival choices come in family-sized crisp packets. You burn through your daily willpower just trying not to eat until noon. By 4 p.m., you've got nothing left of the decisions that actually matter. Choosing grilled chicken over a pizza, not demolishing a share bag of Doritos, which we can all admit are fucking delicious. And this is why blokes who skip breakfast often end up eating more total calories than the blokes who don't. Your willpower is fine, but your strategy, it needs a little bit of work. So what's the fix? Eat breakfast. A proper one with protein. A lot of protein. Not a sad single banana, not 2 eggs, not a bowl of cereal that leaves you hungry in 45 minutes. An actual meal that takes 5 to 10 minutes to make and sets the tone for everything after. But when I say a lot of protein, I'm actually talking about 40 to 50% of your daily total in breakfast. And yes, that sounds like loads, especially if you're even not used to eating breakfast or not used to eating that much protein a meal. But that's the point. You've been doing this backwards. And then there's the bloke I've been working with who's lost 71 pounds doing this exact strategy in the last 9 months. So let me tell you about Steve. Steve's a sales director with 5 kids. When he came to me last September, he was 288 pounds, exhausted by 2 p.m. every day, and had nothing left for his kids when he got home. Same story, skipping meals during the day, eating separately from his family or not eating at all to be good, then overeating at night because his body was screaming for fuel. He'd been watching it happen for a couple of years. Weight creeping up, energy disappearing, the version of himself he recognized getting further and further away. And he kept telling himself he'd sort it once work calmed down, but it never did. He tried shit before, programs that wanted separate meals from his family, diets that demanded like obsessive tracking and endless data, workouts that ate into time that he just didn't have. He'd stick with it for maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks at most, and then something would break the routine and he'd be back at square one. So when Steve initially booked a call with me, I didn't give him another version of the same thing. I looked at what was actually happening. His nutrition didn't really have any direction. He was eating okay, but with zero structure, which meant his energy was all over the fucking place. He was training, but it was a little bit random, no real progression. And he was either eating separately from his family or skipping meals entirely, which meant no consistency and absolutely no joy in the process. So of course, it wasn't going to work. What he didn't have was a plan built around his actual life. So we started with one number, his protein target. For Steve at his weight, I asked him to start working towards 200 grams. It wasn't just based on his current weight, it was based on what he was already doing with his nutrition too. Any more than that would have been overkill. But here's where most blokes get it wrong. They try to spread that across the day evenly, or worse, save it all for later in the day by fasting in the morning and then making shit decisions. So we did the opposite. We had Steve front load 40 to 50% of his protein at breakfast. That's 80 to 100 grams first thing in the morning or within the first sort of 2 to 3 hours of waking. And it sounds like a lot, but again, that's the point. Think about when your willpower is highest. It's in the morning, you're fresh, you've not made lots of decisions, you haven't been through a day of work stress, client meetings, kid meltdowns, or the thousand little things that derail you by 5 p.m. So by dinner time, you're fucked. And the decision fatigue really kicks in. And that's exactly when most guys try to make their most important food choices. And no wonder it doesn't work. The fix is simple. Make the big food decision when you're strong, not when you're shattered. So we kept breakfast uber simple. A loaded protein smoothie or a protein yogurt bowl, depending on mood. 5 to 10 minutes to make, 5 minutes to eat, done. Here's an example of the yogurt bowl. So 500 grams of Skia low-fat Greek yogurt, 1 scoop of whey protein, 10 to 20 grams of honey, depending on preference and calorie load, and then a huge amount of frozen fruit. Now that's 500 to 600 calories for roughly 80 to 90 grams of protein. Or if you prefer a protein smoothie, 2 scoops of protein powder, 300 mils of milk, a little bit of banana, maybe some peanut butter if you've got the calories for it, maybe some oats or whatever, and you've got 60 to 70 grams of protein before your coffee is even finished brewing. You've already made a massive dent in your protein target before the day's begun. For Steve, that one decision made when he was at his freshest changed his whole direction of each and every day. Because once you've hit your protein target almost before lunch, the rest of the day kind of sorts itself out. There's no complicated tracking. He eats the same dinner as his family, same food, no stress. The protein has just happened way earlier. Also means he's less tempted to be snacking and binging throughout the day because he's more satiated. We also gave him a training plan that fits 30 minutes, 3 times a week, so there was no overthinking there. Show up, do the work, and get on with your life. And a framework that doesn't need daily management. He knows what to do, gets on with it. And within a few months, well, I say a few, 9 months, he's 71 pounds down. He's got his energy back in the afternoons. He actually wants to do stuff, and his golf game's improving. Not just collapsing on the sofa after a day of work. He's not stressed about what he can and can't eat. He's got clarity and presence where there used to be fog. And a lot of that was coming from the intermittent fasting itself. None of this is an accident. None of it required him to live a different life than the one he actually has. It came from having a real plan instead of guessing. And Steve isn't really a special case of this. He's a man with a full schedule, 5 kids, and a body that responds the same way yours does when you give it clear direction and the means to actually follow the plan. What changed for him wasn't willpower, it wasn't discipline, it was having something simple enough to stick to, built around the life that he actually lives. Here's what I actually want you to do, starting tomorrow. 1, calculate your protein target, roughly 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight. If you weigh 200 pounds, that's 160 to 200 grams a day. 2, front load 40 to 50% of that at breakfast. So you're going to get 70 to 100 grams of protein in first thing in the morning. 3, keep the breakfast stupidly simple. A smoothie or yogurt bowl works really well because it requires no thought process. It can be done in 5 to 10 minutes. 4, you're going to start to notice the snowball effect. By 11 a.m., you're not hungry. No brain fog. No desperate need for a snack. At lunch, you're going to make better choices because you're not ravenous and your energy is more stable. And at dinner, you're going to eat a normal portion for the same reason. So one good decision in the morning creates momentum that carries through the entire day. Steve told me that the first week felt weird. He spent years believing breakfast was the enemy. But by Wednesday, he noticed he wasn't thinking about food until lunch. By Friday, he'd stopped opening the snack drawer at 3 p.m. without even trying. He didn't have to subconsciously make this change. It just happened. The wave, the momentum, it just carried it. Now that's what happens when you make the hard decision when you're strong. The rest of the day, stop being to fight. Meanwhile, you've got an entire industry telling you the opposite. Skip breakfast, push through the hunger, discipline your way through 4 p.m. with black coffee and willpower. If only it was that easy. Ask yourself how that's worked out so far. If the answer is, well, not really fucking great, to be honest, Jack, you already know what to do. I've already told you. That's it. Implement it, and it will work. I'm putting together the full nutrition system and density training protocol that I gave Steve into a new version of my no bullshit strength program right now. If you're interested in that and you want to have a chat about it and see how it works and see how I can help you, the link is in the description. Keep it simple, train hard, and I'll see you in the next one.